I'm going to show you how you can customize your own sneakers from A to Z using products from Sneakarts, which is a professional paint brand based in France. And before you begin painting, you will need an idea first. My idea was to create a pair of Bad Bunny sneakers, and while you can freestyle without making a sketch first, I personally prefer creating a digital mockup using Procreate. This allows me to experiment with different ideas and determine the direction I want to take while I'm painting. The first thing you want to do is prepare your shoe, and we're going to use the deglazer by applying it on a cotton pad and then rubbing it on the places where you're going to paint. What it does is removing the factory finish of the shoe, leaving a clean surface. This way the paint will adhere to the shoe, and it's also a very crucial step in making your customs everlasting. Now it's time to paint, but before we do that, I want to show you something very important, which is how you should and how you shouldn't apply paint. Something you shouldn't do is applying the paint in thick layers.
Don't do it.
The results won't look pretty and the design won't last as well. What you do want to do is apply the paint in thin layers.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
This will lead to better elasticity and avoids cracking. You won't have the perfect coverage in 1 or 2 coats, which is why it's important to work in layers. Another fantastic tip I would like to share is using masking tape. For this step, you will need a precision knife, and my favorite one is from Sneakarts. Simply tape the masking tape over the area where you will be applying the paint and carefully cut it out, just like I'm doing right here. You want to use the knife delicately without applying too much pressure to prevent any unnecessary cuts inside of the shoe. Also, if you are painting on textile or fabric, I recommend to apply a white undercoat to have bright colors and avoid smudging. And if you have made a few mistakes, please do not worry, because you can always fix them using a bit of the glazer with a cotton swab like so. Now I am on to painting the purple parts of the sneakers, and I am using a glass to mix all of the colors instead of a painting palette. The reason why is because I intend to use the exact same color I am mixing now and dilute it with water later so I can use it for the fabric parts of the shoe. And once again, always make sure that you are applying thin layers. Feel free to use masking tape in the same way I showed earlier. Just make sure you're not working with too many layers. Use a hairdryer for at least 30 seconds to 1 minute and then leave it for 5 minutes before you paint another layer. Instead of using a hairdryer, you can also wait 15 to 20 minutes before applying the next layer of paint. You can repeat these steps until you are satisfied with the coverage you got. The same purple color I have mixed for the front parts in a cup will be used for the inner parts as well. The inside of the sneakers are made of fabric, which is why I'm going to dilute the paint with 50% water. The color might be a bit different, so I added a little bit of purple and black so that the inside parts of the sneakers will match with the front parts. Right now, I'm using a wool applicator to paint the insoles of the shoe during this process. Now it's time to transfer your image directly onto the shoes, and this is where it's getting interesting because now I'm going to show you how to quickly transfer any image onto your shoe with this simple technique. Any kind of transfer paper will do, but if your transfer paper looks like mine, make sure you are drawing on the blue side of the paper. Make sure that you have measured how big you want your image to be, and personally I always draw my images free-handed. However, if freehand drawing is something challenging for you, you can place the paper right on top of a screen and trace it. This works better when the lights are off and when you have taped the transfer paper down so it's not going to budge. Next, flip the transfer paper and place it directly onto the spot where you want your design. Tape it securely to prevent any movement, and then use a pencil to scratch the tracing paper with crisscross movements all over. This way you are transferring the image directly onto the shoes. Keep in mind that it's not going to be perfect, and this serves as a guide for getting your image onto the shoes. And as you can see, I had to draw some parts myself because the leather didn't grasp the tracing paper in certain areas. Next up, I want to paint this logo on the front parts of the shoe in the same color but a little bit lighter. To do this, I taped the front parts and cut out the tape from the corners with a precision knife. This will give me a clean surface so I can draw the logo on top of the tape. I drew the logo freehand, but feel free to place the tape on top of a screen and trace the image from there if that's what you prefer. Once the customization is complete, it is time to varnish the paint to protect the colors over time or change the final finish into matte, satin, or gloss. One coat is sufficient, but I always prefer to apply 2 coats for extra protection.
Pulling up, being on swerving. Bad bitch, but you know I'm